Morning. It's Sunday, September 27th, and I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but the slab is wet and it's sprinkling. So probably pretty low chance we're going to be able to do any bean combining today. If the sun would shine, things could dry out, but I don't think that's supposed to happen. I guess the upshot to that is that gives me plenty of time to mess around with this reel some more. Got a few things to check and try, so I think I'm going to pull the combine out and see if I can get figured out. I posted online a little bit late last night and another spot this morning, and so far a lot of the reports of people running this setup on a 920 specifically are similar experiences to what we've had. A few people that have taken them back off, and one person who I guess ordered a plastic track and then had steel tracks made himself. So there's an inner and outer plastic track here, and an inner and outer plastic track there. They're each a quarter of a circle, and the two plastic tracks here are about $150, so $300 to do the half turn with plastic, or about $600 to do that half turn with steel parts from HCC. That seems sort of expensive to me, especially since it doesn't seem like the thing is particularly well engineered to begin with. I sort of don't exactly love the idea of giving them more profit margin on parts to fix it. So I think the first thing that I'm going to try, well, one person said to double check that these arms that hold the actual reel pipes are all equidistant essentially, so that each arm is following the same circle around the end of the head. So I think we've definitely tried to loosen bolts and pull things and tighten them back up to use bolt slop to get things aligned well enough to make it work. A well-designed product should not require that, but I'm probably going to do a little bit more of that and see if we can figure out what's going on. Another thing I'm going to try, so I didn't previously completely realize that the back tracks are the same as the front tracks, so I'm going to probably try switching those because the spots that are chewed up are mostly in that area where they attach to the backing plate. Switching them is going to put the damaged spots in a different place in the rotation, and that might allow me to get a little bit more reliable use out of this in the short term. Not sure. But especially with this one where it cracked and then cracked the steel, which I'm not sure if I did a video when I got back to the shop last night. But basically where that gold colored bolt comes through the bracket, the steel that we put on the back is notched around and it cracked the steel there from the rollers hitting that. Another idea I had was to try to basically egg out those bearings on the ends of the star things. There's a plastic bearing around the pipe on the end of the reel. There's actually one in each support. We replaced those all before the season last year, and the ones that were on there were very worn, but it seems like putting new ones on there may have sort of compounded the problems of tolerances not being what they should be on the rollers. So in the grand scheme of things, those things are $5 a piece, the plastic bushing or plastic bearings on the end of the arms. So we can screw those up and we can have new ones Tuesday for free shipping or cheap shipping. I don't know what ones cost from John Deere, but they're probably not too crazy. So that might be one possibility, since it seems like part of the problem is that we don't have enough, the rollers are pulling against the inside track at the back, and then as they sort of flip from riding against the stop to trying to get that roller leading the tines, which is another thing that seems like not the best design choice. I get that they tried to use the brackets that were there, and that's sort of what it gave them to get the tines where they wanted them, but it seems like if the roller lagged the tines, that would probably be a lot less apt to fly off the track. That's just speculation, I guess, but a thought. So, a few things to try. I'm a little less frustrated at this moment than I was yesterday because at least it's got nice weather out to be combining. So we'll see what we figure out and if we come up with a solution. And if I can make I think I need the thing to turn more smoothly than it has been. So I need to figure out a way to make that happen, and then if I can, we'll try it. And if not, we may rip this whole thing off and throw it in a scrap iron pile yet. So this pipe is the last one that screwed up yesterday. Not 100% sure if this thing was bent initially or if it was a different one, but this was the last one at least that messed up. So the way this whole deal works, I kind of described it but haven't showed it, so we're going to try to take a little video as we try to fix this now. So these plastic reel tines have a screw that holds them on that basically clamps them around the tube. Gonna set that back there where I hopefully won't drop it in the head. The one I did last night, I actually dropped the same screw in the head twice. It managed to find it, which was lucky, kind of. One-handed complications here. And when I did the other one, I was able to get these off without taking these stop bracket pieces off, but we'll see how this goes. Okay, so what I'm expecting is that these two fingers are both pretty much totally screwed up. So there's a hole on the bottom side of the reel right here, and there should be a little plastic nub that sticks up, which actually is right there. Not totally sheared off, but clearly not where it belongs. So the way this whole deal works, those plastic nubs are locked into the steel tube pipe, and so they're nominally fixed. And then these stops are bolted on, bolted on to the arms that hold those pipes and basically give you a stop where this tine the whole pipe can rotate until the tine hits the stop this way and vice versa this way. And that's what is supposed to keep it from flipping these backwards at any point in the rotation. I'm kind of thinking through the geometry on this. It's easy to second guess stuff that doesn't work, and difficult to design things that work well and anticipate problems that users are going to have with them. So I don't want to be too hard. There went the little plastic nub off this one. I shouldn't be too hard on the people who designed this, but it'll work. So it seems like when they designed it, they were constrained to use the cranks that are here. So there's a little stub shaft that goes back inside the tube. There's two roll pins that holds it in, and there's this piece that's welded on. Aftermarket, those are about $50 a piece. I'm sure John Deere is more than that. I don't know how much, and they're not the easiest thing to change out. So I think they tried to design the kit to use as much of what was here as possible. However, I think if you made the track the right geometry, you could have that always lead or always lag the tine and have the tine rotated the direction that you wanted it to be. It seems like. I could be wrong on that. Don't hate me if you're the person who designed this. But it seems like a lot of the problem is as they come around here, and I'm not going to be able to rotate it without screwing this probably at this point. But as they come around, they're basically only slightly leading the arm, and then they have to the roller needs to get ahead to flip that forward. And that transition is what really screws things up, because that's what happens in this area. We seem to be, in a lot of cases, putting pressure inside on this track, and then as it switches, it basically goes from riding on this track to whacking against this one on the inside, and I think that's why this is sort of pushed out and cracked. And I realized another problem that we were having. So When we put this metal on the backside yesterday to reinforce this, we made new spacers to keep the track in the right place so that it lined up nice here. But it seems that they slid down and are actually hitting the rollers, even though it's a thinner wall section than the ones that were there before. It's a little larger diameter, so it seems that we've kind of clearanced the inside edge of that a little bit more than we necessarily wanted to. But anyway, that transition from riding on the inside to trying to get the roller ahead of the tine and riding on the outside seems to be where all the problems happen. I mean, there's some stuff chewed up in this area also, but I think that's more a result of sort of getting in the wrong spot or flying off down here somewhere, where there's a lot of flex in those tracks, and then basically rubbing on the inside edge as it comes around. I don't know. Still not loving this whole getup. Combining beans today seems extremely unlikely. It actually let up a little bit in the time it took me to get over here with the camera. It's after lunch, actually about a little after 2 o'clock now, and we're making progress, I think. I screwed around with a bunch of different stuff. Some helped, some didn't. But I think we're getting there. The biggest help probably was switching the tracks. So I took the two that were on the back half on the top section and put them on the front, and vice versa. It seems like this one in particular is really worn down right in this area, and you can kind of see that the gap there is wider than it should be. I'm hoping that where this crack is and this whole thing isn't going to cause us a lot of problems, but so far it seems to be rolling pretty smooth by hand at least. I haven't actually powered it up and run it with combine hydraulics yet. But I've been sort of tweaking some bolts, so we loosened up some of these, the ones that hold the arms back here, and then also the one that holds the bearing in the end, and sort of tried to pull those out and tighten them down to get us a little bit more clearance. So it seems like the one problem that I'm still having is that basically every single one of these as it comes around is putting a whole bunch of tension on this inner track. And I could kind of tell when I laid the tracks up next to each other, this was the front and what was the rear. So this was the area where the roller was pulling in on it, and you could kind of see that it didn't quite match up in that area, like it had bent the plastic a little bit. And I've tried about everything I can think of to make that better. I guess I might try to adjust the rotation again and see if that does anything. Like most of the track is a circle, other than sort of like this area where it tries to kick the stuff into the reel and then lift the tines out at the last minute. But the circle is moved back and up in relation to the center line of the reel. So like adjusting here sort of distorts the shape a little bit, I think, because you're not pivoting from the center of the circle. Yes. So maybe that'll be the next thing that I try, is moving this bolt and trying to find a position where it doesn't put as much of a bind on this inner track in this area. If that doesn't work, the only thing left to do is to basically pull these plastic bearings out and sand them down like they were wallered out from being run for 10 years before the track was put on here, which would have been the actual case, actually a little bit more than 10. And see if that will fix things. I think I've got the rollers straightened out or running basically where I want them to. They're maybe not 100% perfect, but I'm hoping they're good enough. So when we put this reel on, which we looked back and it was 2013, I believe was the year that we put it on. So I wasn't directly involved in the farm at that point, but I came down and helped Dad install it because the whole reel had to come off to change out the brackets and everything. And in the process of doing that, we basically found that the arms that hold the reel were not parallel. So they were narrow at the front. And the way that Dad decided to try to fix that was to add extra washers over here. But I think that maybe also has a side effect of pushing the whole reel to that side a little bit, and also like possibly keeping everything a little bit tighter than it should be versus allowing it to sort of float in that track in this particular application. So I ended up taking a couple washers out, or I guess more specifically, move them to the outside so they're still there if we ever want to switch them back. But there is a little bit less pressure squeezing the reel together at this point. Tolerance is a weird thing. You don't want a lot of play, but sometimes you need enough to let things work right. And I don't know if that was part of the problem or not, but it might have been a contributing factor. Maybe not, but probably being an 1/8 inch narrow at the front versus the back isn't going to hurt anything. So I think we're going to try that for a little bit and see how we get along. When I had the tracks off, I also tried to get some measurements off of everything and may do a little bit of calling around to see if we can find a fab shop that has like a CNC plasma and what it would cost to have them made, because I have a feeling that it would be less than $600 and we might be able to find someone that would be able to get it done faster than we can have the stuff shipped from Ohio. But that's where we're at right now. I'm going to try adjusting the clocking on this track and see if I can make any difference with that, and then we'll see what's next. It's a little after 3 o'clock now, and got the combine pulled in. I think we're done with this. Actually, I guess it's 3:30. Done with this for the time being. I still want to sand out the bearings where those pipes for the reel attach or ride on the star arm things. I don't know that I have the right tool to do that right now, so I'm going to try to chase something down and probably do that before we run tomorrow afternoon, or Tuesday maybe is looking more likely to me at this point. We ended up with about 3/10 of an inch, and it's pretty damp. It could dry off tomorrow. The wind's supposed to blow pretty strongly, and it's supposed to be sunny, I believe. So things might dry off faster than I expect, but everything is definitely absorbing a lot of moisture today, so I don't think that's going to be an instantaneous thing. And probably best case to be able to do anything more in the field is going to be late in the day tomorrow, I'm guessing. So in light of that, I'm going to take a little siesta back to Central Iowa to work on a few things there, and then probably plan to come back down tomorrow afternoon and kind of see how things are looking. If it doesn't look like we're going to be able to do anything, I might wait until Tuesday. But I have a few things I need to get taken care of in Ames, and this seems like the best option to do that because at this point there's no chances of rain this week. It ended up welding the arm that we screwed up yesterday. By the time I got it bent back where I thought it needed to be, it was starting to crack the original weld, so I touched that up and also welded the spacers we made to the patch piece on that one track that's screwed up. I think my game plan is going to be I'm going to order one inner and one outer plastic track, although that's $150 and that's ridiculous. $150 thrown away is a lot better than screwing around for 2 days of good soybean harvest and taking a moisture hit on stuff that gets over dry or whatever. So I'm probably going to get those ordered here and get them on the way. And for a more permanent solution, I think we're going to see about getting some metal ones made. I'm not really willing to spend $600 on those, and I think we can find somebody that can do them a lot less expensively than that. But aside from wanting to egg out those bearings a little bit to give a little bit more slack radially, everything is turning much smoother than it did yesterday. Switching those tracks, switching the front tracks to the back made a huge difference. And there's a lot of things that I tried to tweak just based on trying to adjust the slack in the bolt holes, which again, not ideal, but if we can make it work, probably worth it, because this does, according to Dad, feed significantly better than the old style, and it won't wrap basically at all. So when I had the one screwed up that I was running with yesterday, like I think any morning glory vine that was in the field would wrap up on there and then catch soybeans. And I was definitely carrying a lot of stuff around the reel, which I would like to avoid if at all possible. This is really a good design, just maybe not the greatest execution, especially for long-term longevity, in my opinion.